Yep. Money mo. Yep. Welcome back for. I got no fingernail. For love. No, God. Well, guess what? This is chapter 22, and I can open this. I can frickin' open it. I should be able to, but I have no fingernails right at the moment. Yeah. Chapter 22 of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I want my coffee. Give me my coffee. Coffee Arnon. My coffee. Yeah. Got it. Closed. Yeah. Upside down. Going back to town. 3rd October, Jonathan Harker's journal. As I must do something or go mad, I write this diary. It is now 6 o'clock, and we are to meet in the study in half an hour and take something to eat. For Dr. Van Helsing and Dr. Seward agreed that if we do not eat, we cannot work our best. Our best will be, God knows, required today. So awesome. I must keep writing at every chance, for I dare not stop to think. All, big and little, must go down. Perhaps at the end, the little things may teach us most. The teaching, big or little, could not have landed Mina or me anywhere worse than we are today. However, we must trust and hope. Poor Mina told me just now, with the tears running down her dear cheeks, that it is in trouble and trial that our faith is tested, that we must keep on trusting, and that God will aid us up to the end. The end? Oh my God, what end? To work. When Dr. Van Helsing and Dr. Seward had come back from seeing poor Renfield, we went gravely into what was to be done. First, Dr. Seward told us that when he and Dr. Van Helsing had gone down to the room below, they had found Renfield lying on the floor, all in a heap. His face was all bruised and crushed in, and the bones of the neck were broken. Dr. Seward asked the attendant who was on duty in the passage if he had heard anything. He said that he had been sitting down. He confessed to half dozing when he heard loud voices in the room, and then Renfield had called out loudly several times, "God, God, God!" After that, there was a sound of falling, and when he entered the room, he found him lying on the floor, face down, just as the doctors had seen him lying on the, just like the doctors had seen him. Van Helsing asked if he had heard voices or a voice. And he said he could not say, that at first it had seemed to him as if there were two, but as there was no one in the room, it could have been only one. He could swear to it, if required, that the word God was spoken by the patient. Dr. Seward said to us, when we were alone, that he did not wish to go into the matter. The question of an inquest had to be considered, and it would never do to put forward the truth, as no one would believe it as it was. He thought that on the attendant's evidence he could give a certificate of death by misadventure in falling from bed. In case the coroner should demand it, there would be a formal inquest, necessarily to the same result. When the question began to be discussed as to what should be our next step, the very first thing we decided was that Mina should be in full confidence that nothing of any sort, no matter how painful, should be kept from her. She herself agreed as to its wisdom, and it was pitiful to see her so brave and yet so sorrowful, and in such a depth of despair. There must be no more concealment, she said. Alas, we have had too much already. And besides, there's nothing in all the world that can give me more pain than I have already endured. Then I suffer now. Whatever may happen, it must be of new hope, of new courage to me. Van Helsing was looking at her fixedly as she spoke and said suddenly but quietly, "But, dear Madam Mina, are you not afraid? Not for yourself, but for others, from yourself, after what has happened?" Her face grew set in its lines, but her eyes shone with the devotion of a martyr as she answered, "Ah, no, for my mind is made up." "To what?" he asked gently, whilst we were all very still, for each in our own way we had a sort of vague idea of what she meant. Her answer came with direct simplicity, as though she were simply stating a fact. "Because if I find in myself, and I shall watch keenly for it, a sign of harm to any that I love, I shall die." "You would not kill yourself?" he asked hoarsely. "I would, if there were no friend who loved me, who would save me such a pain and so desperate an effort." She looked at him meaningly as she spoke. He was sitting down, but now he rose and came close to her and put his hand on her head as she said solemnly, "My child, there is such an one, if it were for your good. For myself, I could hold it in my account with God to find such an euthanasia for you, even at this moment, if it were best. Nay, were it safe, but, my child..." For a moment he seemed choked, and a great sob rose in his throat. He gulped it down and went on. "There are here some who would stand between you and death. You must not die. You must not die by any hand, but, least of all, by your own, until the other, who has fouled your sweet life, is true dead. You must not die, for if he is still with the quick, undead, your death would make you even as he is. No, you must live. You must struggle and strive to live, though death would seem a boon unspeakable. You must fight death himself, though he come to you in pain or in joy. By the day or the night, in safety or in peril, on your living soul I charge you that you do not die, nay, nor think of death till this great evil be past." The poor dear grew white as death, and shook and shivered, as I have seen a quicksand shake and shiver at the incoming of the tide. We were all silent. We could do nothing. At length she grew more calm, and turning to him said, sweetly but oh, so sorrowfully as she held out her hand, "I promise you, my dear friend, that if God will let me live, I shall strive to do so, till, if it may be in his good time, this horror may have passed away from me." She was so good and brave that we all felt that our hearts were strengthened to work and endure for her, and we began to discuss what we were to do. I told her that she was to have all the papers in the safe, and all the papers or diaries and phonographs we might hereafter use, and was to keep the record as she had done before. She was pleased with the prospect of anything to do, if pleased could be used in connection with so grim an interest. As usual, Van Helsing had thought ahead of everyone else and was prepared with an exact ordering of our work. "It is perhaps well," he said, "that at our meeting after our visit to Carfax we decided not to do anything with the earth boxes that lay there. Had we done so, the Count must have guessed our purpose and would doubtless have taken measures in advance to frustrate such an effort with regard to the others. But now he does not know our intentions. Nay, more, in all probability, he does not know that such a power exists to us as can sterilize his lairs, so that he cannot use them as of old. We are now so much further advanced in our knowledge as to their disposition, that when we have examined the house in Piccadilly, we may track the very last of them. Today, then, is ours, and in it rests our hope. The sun that rose on our sorrow this morning guards us in its course, until it sets tonight. That monster must retain whatever from he now has. He is confined within the limitations of his earthly envelope. He cannot melt into thin air, nor disappear through cracks or chinks or crannies. If he goes through a doorway, he must open the door like a mortal. And so we have this day to hunt out all his lairs and sterilize them. So we shall, if we have not yet catch him and destroy him, drive him to bay in some place where the catching and the destroying shall be in time. Sure. Here I started up, for I could not contain myself as the thought that the minutes and seconds so previously laden with Mina's life and happiness were flying from us, since whilst we talked action was possible. But Van Helsing held up his hand warningly. "Nay, friend Jonathan," he said, "in this, the quickest way, home is the longest way, so your proverbs say. We shall act, and act with desperate quick, when the time has come. But think, in all probable, the key of the situation is in that house in Piccadilly. The Count may have many houses which he has bought. Of them he will have deeds of purchase, keys, and other things. He will have paper that he write on. He will have his book of check. There are many belongings that he must have somewhere. Why not in this place so central, so quiet, where he come and go by the front or the back at all hour, when in the very vast of the traffic there is none to notice? We shall go there, and what our friend Arthur called, in his phrases of hand, stop the earth. And so we run down our old fox. So, is it not?" "Then let us come at once," I cried. "We are wasting the precious time." The professor did not move, but simply said, "And how are we to get into that house in Piccadilly?" "Anyway," I cried, "we shall break in if need be." "And your police, where will they be, and what will they say?" I was staggered, but I knew that if he wished to delay, he had a good reason for it, so I said as quietly as I could, "Don't wait more than need be. You know, I'm sure what torture I'm in." "Ah, my child, that I do. And indeed, there is no wish of me to add to your anguish. but just think, what can we do until all the world be at movement? Then will come our time. I have thought, and it seems to me that the simplest way is the best of all. Now we wish to get into the house, but we have no key. Is it not so? I nodded. Now suppose that you were in truth the owner of that house and could not still get it, and think there was to you no conscience of the housebreaker. What would you do? I should get a respectable locksmith and set him to work to pick the lock for me. And your police? They would interfere, would they not? Oh no, not if they knew the man was properly employed. Then he looked at me keenly as he spoke. All that is in doubt is the conscience of the employer, and the belief of your policeman as to whether or not that employer has a good conscience or a bad one. Your police must indeed be zealous men and clever. Oh, so clever in reading the heart that they trouble themselves in such matter. No, my friend Jonathan, you go take the log of 100 empty houses in this, your London, of any city in the world, and if you do it, as such things are rightly done, and at the time such things are rightly done, no one will interfere. I've read of a gentleman who owned a so fine house in your London, and when he went for months of summer to Switzerland and locked up his house, some burglar came and broke window at back and got in. Then he went and made open the shutters in front and walked out and in through the door before the very eyes of the police. Then he have an auction in that house and advertise it, and put up big notice, and when the day come, he sell off by a great auctioneer all the goods of that other man who owns them. Then he go to a builder and he sell him that house, making an agreement that he pull it down and take all away within a certain time. And your police and other authority help him all they can. And when that owner come back from his holiday in Switzerland, he find only an empty hole where his house had been. This was all done en règle, and in our work we shall be en règle too. We shall not go so early that the policemen, who have then little to think of, shall deem it strange, but we shall go after 10 o'clock when there are many about, and when such things would be done, were we indeed owners of the house. I could not but see how right he was, and the terrible despair of Mina's face became relaxed at thought. There was hope in such good counsel when Helsing went on. When once within that house we may find more clues. At any rate, some of us can remain there, whilst the rest find the other places where there be more earth boxes. At Bermondsey and Milan. Lord Godalming stood up. I can be of some use here, he said. I shall wire to my people to have horses and carriages where they will be most convenient. Look here, old fellow, said Morris. It is a capital idea to have all ready in case we want to go horsebacking. But don't you think that one of your snappy carriages with its heraldic adornments in the byway at Walworth or Mile End would attract too much attention for our purposes? It seems to me that we ought to take cabs when we go southeast, and even that we ought to, and even leave them somewhere near the neighborhood we are going to. Friend Quincy is right, said the professor. His head is what you call in plane with the horizon. It is a difficult thing that we go to do, and we do not want no people to watch us, if so it may. And next time we will finish chapter 22. So, have a nice time until then, and goodbye.